And you're in tune to Raleigh Station, WBAI 99.5 FM, WBAI New York, WBAI.RJ. 5 minutes after 4 o'clock. 5 minutos after 4 o'clock. Down the bar, how are you this morning? How you feeling this morning, down the bar?
Angry.
Why are you so angry?
Watching what's going on in the world and what the U.S. government is doing. And
no ceasefire, right? No ceasefire?
You can't even say ceasefire. You can't even say humanitarian pause. That's what they want. In other words, stop shooting for a minute, throw in a few sandwiches.
No. That's terrorism. That's known as terrorism. If you're going to start talking about ceasefire and humanitarian stuff and a pause and stop those bullets and bombs, you're a self-hating Jew, or you're a terrorist, or you're a combination of both, or you're a communist. Or you're a Don DeBar.
Yeah, 10,500 people in Gaza dead so far, according to...
And counting.
Okay. They blew up mosques overnight. This is in essence urban renewal of Gaza. They're scraping the people off of Gaza so they can rebuild it as part of Israel. That's what's going on. And it's not even subtle. They move people out of the northern half. They tell them basically, we're doing you a favor because we're either going to kill you where you are or you have to leave. Somehow that's justified. I don't understand exactly how that is. It's illegal under every.
That's what possible. They call a humanitarian pause. Their version of a humanitarian pause is to tell you to move from the north, move to the south, so I can drop this bomb on you when you're over there in the south or in the north. Okay? Yep. And if that doesn't work, here's the other humanitarian strategy. Hello, you got bombed. I dropped leaflets. You didn't move. Hamas stopped you from moving. And when you meet the victims and the victims get a chance to speak, they say, ain't no Hamas stopping us. It's these bombs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I making this stuff up?
I wish you were. I'm watching it on television. Even here. So now you have wherever you want to look, a Republican debate. Every person there outdoing each other. How much of Israel's behind making kiss on television. One member of the 535-member Congress between the Senate and the House condemns what's happening as war crime because it is. Because even the head of the UN agency responsible for human rights says so. And he's basically hired by the U.S. government. One member stands up and she gets condemned by almost every member of the House that can get themselves to the microphone. And, by the way, people in the Senate who have nothing to do with what people in the House do or say. The media condemns her also. I'm no fan, by the way, of Rashid Tlaib, but I'll say this. She said what needs to be said, and people ought to be doing something about it, something big. This is a genocide that's going on in front of the world's eyes. And people are just going about their business like, well, these things happen at best. Most people with microphones, almost every person with a microphone in the corporate media and in the legacy media, what they used to call the mainstream media, I would say every one of them, in one fashion or another, is the couple like Joy, whatever her name is, Joy Reid, that have mentioned that, this might be bad. They catch condemnation, and people are pointing to them like they're courageous. No one's doing this damn thing about it. Okay, if I were any of these people in Congress, members of the squad who were supposedly opposed to this, or those members of the squad who were supposedly opposed to this, I'd be doing something. I'd be shutting that place down if I had to. I'd be doing something to make this stop. And Mario Savio said, when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, you have to throw yourself upon the gears to make the machinery stop. It's worth risking your career as a member of Congress to try to stop this. And it's not just making a speech here and there where the people there like you and it looks like you're actually on our side, on the people's side. You got to do something. I don't see anybody doing a damn thing other than, thankfully for the protests, we see that the American people, the massive numbers it turned out, the people of the world are opposed to this.
Yeah.
And, there's something there. And I don't know how someone grabs the leash and wheels this. But when the population, like, look at countries like Saudi Arabia, others, the Gulf states, where the governments are quisling governments that were installed, years ago so that the oil would flow to the West, to the U.S. and Europe. They're sitting on top of populations who are watching this. They're not having it. And so they have to talk some nonsense. But while they're talking nonsense, this slaughter goes on, and the people in their countries are getting more and more restless. What may end up coming out of this, and hopefully it happens soon enough to matter, is that they're going to, a lot of these governments are going to get thrown over. This is going to happen in Europe, too. And it's already been happening in Africa, even before this incident. And Latin America also. This is intolerable. This is a real estate deal. This is like if somebody decided I'm going to buy a neighborhood in Manhattan, and the people there refuse to move out. They start bombing the hell out of them. They scrape them. Well, move into the next neighborhood because we're going to demolish the neighborhood. And then they do it, whether the people are in the building or not. Hopefully some of the people are in the building as an example to anybody that has a problem the next time we tell you to get out. That's what's playing out right now. This is like what the RAND Corporation studies had New York City and cities across the country do in the 50s and 60s. When you had 30, 40 years of black folks moving from the south to the north, and because of segregated housing and then concentrated in cities, all of a sudden people realized, hey, we have political power because we have this whole congressional district. And they put people like Adam Clayton Powell in the Congress. And so Rand was contracted to, how do we solve this problem? These people are making demands on us, and they're in a position to have them actualized. And the plan was easy, scatter them. Knock the neighborhoods down and scatter the people to the four winds, diffuse their power. That's what happened. That's what urban renewal really was underneath it. There's a couple, Rodney and Deborah Wallace, who are two academics, I guess. I don't know. They've written a number of books on exactly this phenomenon and the history of it. Mm-hmm. And if you read that stuff or you listen to their lectures, I have the lectures on my YouTube page, and then you look at what's going on in Gaza, you're like, oh, that's what that is. It's obvious that that's what that is. All of Israel has been that. It's land theft. It's like what happened here. Like I said,
imperialist USA has Israel doing its dirty work. G.I. Joe, genocide, imperialist Joe. Listen to me. This reminds me of when the same imperialist colonialists were bombing Germany. England was bombing Germany non-stop in the night, and USA was bombing them non-stop in the day, and it was raining bombs non-stop. These are the words of a Holocaust survivor as a 6-year-old child who witnessed that. And she says, today, we got to go beyond peacefire in such a way that we do not go back to this. But these bomb makers are the same ones who were bombing Germany 24 hours a day like rain. Non-stop. Vietnam, non-stop. Then they went to Little Grenada. They tried to bomb the hell out of Little Grenada. It never stops. So when they talk out to the side of the mouth about humanitarian this, humanitarian that, they're very disingenuous. You know that, right? This can be stopped. This can be stopped immediately. Let me make the political point that Professor Mark Stern made to me. He says, Lister, the exact same incident and thing happened to India. And Lister says, yeah, India got the bomb, the nuclear bomb. And I said, what did India do? And he said, India did absolutely nothing. Never fired a shot, never dropped a bomb, never dropped no leaflets, never cut off no petrol, electricity, internet, never bombed no hospital, never bombed no, what you call it, mosque, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? That's what India did. And look at the results of India today. They ain't building no walls around Gaza. They're not occupying Gaza. There is another strategy. Am I lying?
No, man, no.
No conscience, man. G.I. Joe, no conscience. No conscience. No conscience.
I don't see any relief either. I'm looking at...
That's the problem. That is the problem, right?
That is certainly a problem. You've got this presidential election coming, except for with qualification, Cornel West, who's probably not going to be on the ballot at any state.
Why?
Because it's impossible to do it unless you're with a ballot status
thought
party.
This was a democratic society. Thought this was a democratic country.
Huh? Did you really?
It ain't legal. Democracy ain't legal in imperialist USA, right?
That's right.
It's just a joke. Just a joke.
It ain't a joke. It's no joke.
It's no joke.
Congress, like I said, you had one person that's really, spoken out, and a couple of that have sort of uttered some words like, well, I guess two. Omar also spoke after, as they were censuring, what's it? How do you say her name? Rashid.
Mm-hmm.
The one who
Talib, Rashid Talib.
Talib, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Talib. Yeah, T-L-A-I-D. When she was being censored, Omar spoke in her defense, and otherwise, just some of the statements like.
Wait a minute, Omar touched her and tried to comfort her when she was emotionally breaking down, crying, and those hypocrites standing around her, none of them even tried to touch her. She's having an emotional breakdown. This is how cold these mofos are.
Hey, man, she's a Jew in the Reichstag.
Sad.
Okay?
Sad.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
And they're sending the Luftwaffe after the ghetto uprising in Warsaw. Only worse. Coupled with the RAND study under their arm on how to gentrify, quote unquote, to use a antiseptic term, Gaza. So you can end up with a bunch of seaside condominiums populated by Israelis and Europeans and Americans. Sometime 5 years out or whatever, as long as it takes to ship them in on boats. By the way, some of the things, like you look at the news coverage, they mentioned that there were some Americans who were, among the people that were killed with the attack, on October 7th. And something that they haven't mentioned, that no one has mentioned whatsoever, is the fact that there was an American who was shot in the back of the head by the IDF for trying to bring aid to back in May 31st of 2010.
Right.
And there's also the USS Liberty, a number of others. For some reason, these did not, what was it, the thing that initialized the U.S. buildup in Vietnam incident. Can't think of the word, Jesus Christ. That provoked a war that lasted like 11 years. The Liberty, basically, that provoked more aid to Israel. Yeah. They're sending $14.5 billion to Israel now, in addition to all the money they sent. There's 10 million Israelis. That's $1,400 for every man, woman, and child in Israel they're sending to them right now. This is from a population 70% of whom do not have $1,000. We're sending $1,400 to every Israeli. And if you instead look at what that money's being used for, they're spending $5,600 for every man, woman, and child of the 2.5 million people in Gaza to kill them. $5,600 bounty on each one of them out of our tax money. Not a single person has a problem with that except for 1.5 members of Congress, and the one who speaks it out loud is censured by the House and humiliated publicly in the media.
It's sad.
It's not a problem.
It's sad. Last week it slipped out of my mouth. I was telling Michael G after the show. By the way, he says hello. I said it slipped out of my mouth. I said, only in imperialist USA, they say you're anti-Semitic, right? And when the imperialist USA, say bad things about Palestinian people live in Gaza or the West Bank, they don't call those people anti-Semitic.
I know, even though those are
fascinating stuff, and nobody censors them, right?
That's correct.
Nobody shuts them down. Permitted speech, no freedom of speech. Permitted speech is what reigns in imperialist USA. No such thing.
Even Bobby Kennedy, okay? I had thought there was some hope there. He's talking about having colleges shut down people for anti-Semitism.
Stop taking those Quaaludes, funny drugs, man. Bobby Kennedy, man. I tried to tell you should take some of the stuff I'm drinking, man.
Whatever it is, I'm hoping he's going to pull his head out of the clouds.
I don't know.
I mean, you've got people saying Kennedy. That there's been this. Even though so many of the people that have been in the streets are Jewish here, opposing this, and even though you have people in Israel, Jews in Israel, who are opposed to what's going on here, criticizing Israel is considered hating Jews in the media, in the political culture, and in terms of law. I mean, there are 30 states where you have to sign an oath in order to hold a public office that you will not call for BDS against Israel. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to do it against the other 49 states, by the way. Okay, you can say, let's boycott Georgia because we don't like this, or let's boycott Texas because we don't like that, but you can't say let's boycott Israel, no matter what Israel does. That's American law. You have to ask yourself, who the hell these people that are making these laws work for?
Ah, boy. Again, imperialist USA has Israel doing its dirty work. Don't forget that. Don DeBar, we're running out of time, 23 minutes after the hour right here. How can we stay in touch with you so we can stay on top of what you just talked about?
My Facebook page, Don DeBar, DonDebar. Twitter is at Don DeBar, one word. The same on truthsocial.com. Also on VK.com, it's Don DeBar, DON space DBAR. And YouTube.com/Don DeBar.
And when are you going to come up and sit behind these microphones in the studio and look through the window here? The window with the ganja view, and say 388 Atlantic Avenue on the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor with the ganja view, Brooklyn, New York 11217. To send all that financial support and to keep this radio station going, so at least we can hear somebody like you.
Well, I'd love to see people give to WBAI and keep the station on the air. If you want me to come there behind the microphone at 4 a.m., it's going to be about 1,000 years from now before that happens.
Listen, I'm not going to send I'm not going to send a limo. I'm going to send a helicopter.
Yeah,
Hey, speaking about helicopters, did you hear that Yemen shot down one of imperialist USA most expensive drones?
Yep, I did, and I also saw that
big time, one shot, boom.
The U.S. took a couple of shots at Syria also, and got some retribution for that too.
Right. It's like the Yemenis took a slingshot with a little peanut in it or a stone, and going boom and brought down that drone.
You know, drone. That's right.
These imperialist dogs are something else, man. Talk about warmongers. Down the bar, I gotta run. I gotta run.
Peace and love, my friend. Say hi to David, and say hi also to Michael.
And I gotta do my favorite thing, which is to I gotta play a tune. This time, this is for your sister. How's she doing?
She's doing well. How's she doing?
All right, she's hanging in there. She says.
Mel? You talk to Mel?
Say that again.
Melody, how's she doing?
Oh, she's doing fine. Seriously. This is for Don DeBar's sister, Damien Marley, a great tune called Slave Mill, which wraps up the whole struggle of the unions in imperialist USA. The unions won a victory, Don DeBar.
Yes, they did.
This is dedicated to Don DeBar's sister and the victory of the auto unions in imperialist USA. You know, one step forward, trying to remind the workers, don't vote against your best interests. See you, Don DeBar.
Take care of yourself, brother.
Take care. Yeah.